All right, I just asked April, hey, what was that attorney's name? I got to figure out who he is. And she said, dumbass. Something like that. Yeah, I think that's okay. Here's what it says. Janet Smith said, I had white, what'd she say? White, well, it says white pride. You can have gay pride and black pride. Look up Muhammad Ali's speech in London, England, where he talks about he don't want to mix. Yeah, I don't think mixing is okay. But Janet, she didn't want to talk about the other bumper stickers. Let's see. Fully human and abortion is murder. Let's see. Are they Democrats? Yes. And yes, I question the government's narrative on was 9/11 an inside job. And yes, pro-choice. What about the baby? It's fully human. When they abort a baby, you know, we have this Nicole Galloway running, and I liked what she did in the auditor's office. I had Lexington, Missouri audited. I was the chief petitioner. Oh, there's my Trump flag. It's racist. All Trump supporters are racist. You know, the Democratic Party started the Ku Klux Klan, and now the Ku Klux Klan has became conservative Republicans like Tom Robb, and they worship the police and they worship the courts. Jason Robb is a attorney, and I criticized him for not writing a writ of habeas corpus for Jacob Goodwin, and I do an interview on this channel, this page. And actually, when I'm done with this short video, I'm going to go inside and I'm going to listen to Red Ice Radio. And April likes listening to Red Ice Radio. Hendrick and Lana, his wife, and they're pagans. I don't agree with pagans, but they don't attack Christians, and I would hope that they could come to Christ. And, you know, but they talk about things like White Lives Matter, and they talk about censorship with big tech. And I will say the judge was pretty mad about the shooting. She agreed that the shooting was over the top, that he's created a shooting range here now whenever all this trouble started. But, you know, they've been here 70 years. We're nobodies. You know, my wife made $60,000 last year at her job. I'm very blessed, and he wanted to ask me what I did. Yeah, I used to drive the carriage. I don't do anything right now. I stay at home and take care of children. My wife is the moneymaker. She's also 14 years younger than me. I'm 52 and she's 38. I have a younger, beautiful wife. I'm very blessed. And the children are in there making pizza. It's going to be movie night. Here at 6 o'clock, Red Ice is on. Normally it's when they do Flashback Friday. And then on Wednesday, they do the no-go zones. That's where the Muslims, you know, they have no-go zones where they have their Sharia law. And, you know, this is what the Democrats want to bring us. And I pray we don't get Nicole Galloway as a governor here in Missouri. We've run the abortion baby killer satanic. I will say that I don't agree with the evangelicals, but they, you know, abortion is murder. Abortion is murder. You know, Rudy Davis, Lone Star 1776, I posted on this channel, not a hate channel, that the Lacey Peterson had an 8-month-old baby, and they charged him with murdering 2 people. Aborting the baby is murder. We don't vaccinate our children. I don't want to wear a mask in Branson. You know, it's just outrageous. The control freaks and the liars. Janet and them lied about me flipping people off. I have no reason to flip them off. And they also lied about the pulling up of the stakes. And they should be very cautious about making false statements under oath. I'm going to get a copy of that transcript. And, you know, he said the stakes were pulled up. I can guarantee you there's no video of those stakes being pulled up because they weren't pulled up. There's wooden stakes, but the pins, he said the metal pins were pulled up, and he's a freaking liar. Rory Smith is a liar, and he also lied about the gray water line and said the tractor gets stuck. Rory Smith is a liar, and Janet Smith is going to back him up. And, oh, I had a story I wanted to tell the attorney. He wanted to look at CaseNet. God, I'm going to end up going on here. CaseNet, Mr. Scumbag Attorney, the Bible says, woe unto you attorneys that put burdens on people. I don't know the scripture. I can't quote it because I'm not a preacher. You asked me if I was a preacher. But look up Ralph Hutchinson. Ralph Hutchinson over in Ava. I used to live in an old schoolhouse over there, Ava, for free. And I was single when I met my wife. Me and her met, and I said, let's get married. I had a previous ex-wife that, oh, she's terrible. She wanted to smoke cigarettes and not take care of the children. My wife's breastfed all these children, and just excellent. Well, I worked as a ranch hand guy for this guy, Chip Hine. His wife was murdered over in Christian County. Now, this is a few years before I came along and met Chip. His wife had been murdered over there in Christian County. Chip Hines. He's still alive. We were in Ava at a dental appointment the other day, and I saw his granddaughter at the Walmart, and she remembered me and said his dementia is bad. He's an old guy, and I said he's one of the best guys I ever knew. But his wife had been murdered. But he told me a story about Ralph Hutchinson. Well, see, Ralph Hutchinson, he had this old schoolhouse, and when they said, oh, you could live in it for free, and you don't have to pay any rent, Daryl, and you just help us on the farm and ranch. And I would go to Branson and do stuff, and I had a little place for all my stuff, and I had this old trailer. Had that old trailer for years. And Ralph wrote me a letter at one point that said, Daryl lives in the schoolhouse for free, so I could get food stamps. And I got food stamps. And then me and April got together, and it's kind of like tearing down the fence in the back. As soon as we want to tear down the fence and fix up the back of the house, I'm a bad guy. Well, once I got a girlfriend living out there at Ava, I'm a bad guy. And Ralph wanted to throw me out. So we went to court, and everyone came kind of like today, and they said, oh, Daryl mooned us. Oh, Daryl was going to show us his ass. Daryl said he's going to whoop our ass, and all kinds of lies that they told. But Ralph Hutchinson's son had recently died. He fell off a antenna tower down at Mountain Home, Arkansas, and his son was really cool. His son come and helped me with the carriage, and Ralph come and rode the carriage in Springfield, Missouri with me one night, and this little girl was driving it, and that was like a little horse girl that come down there and everything, about 18. His daughter should have got hooked up with her. Instead, he's like, oh, she's driving the horse down here by herself. I mean, a little girl that could handle a draft horse is not some girl that some man, maybe blacks, might in a bad part of town. But nobody's going to mess with this little girl, Ralph. She's fine driving the carriage. Where I had 2 carriages and 2 horses in downtown Springfield, Missouri. And I was living under the bridge, camping out with them. And, well, then his son died, and his son should have hooked up with that little sweetie because his son was really cool. I really liked his son. I can't remember his name. But maybe because his son had just fallen off this radio tower and died, Judge Carter, every time I would object and say, that has nothing to do with our rental agreement. That has nothing to do with our rental agreement. Well, they set a judgment against me, and I'll never pay it. I'll die before I pay him a dime because they're liars. But call up Ralph Hutchinson. Call up Ralph Hutchinson and say, hey, this guy Daryl told me a story about Chip. And see, Chip, years before, had a rental property, and he rented it to Ralph and his wife when Ralph was a young laborer. And Ralph had mules. He thought he's the great horseman, he's a bully, kind of like, who over here. I heard he likes to bully Arabian horses. I know a story about him, too. Well, Ralph said, no, Chip Hine. Chip Hine told me, he said, Ralph had this mule, and he would beat it when I was renting to him, and he tied the mule to the back of this truck and drove it up this rocky road and drug it and just tore the hide off of this mule. Well, then after he got the mule broke, not trained, I like natural horsemanship, not beating animals. Ralph Hutchinson, I hope the attorney and all you guys call him, all my fans, call up Ralph and say Daryl told this story that Chip Hine told him. Well, then Ralph was out, I guess they were coon dog hunting or something like that, and he was riding that mule, and that mule bucked him off, and he broke his freaking spleen, and he could never ride mules again. It injured him pretty serious. He dang near died. But Chip told me he just laughed his ass off because he felt so bad for that poor mule that he had drug up the road and tore all the hide off of. And so look up Ralph Hutchinson and let him know that you heard Ralph Hutchinson is a mule dragger, and his wife used to have to come up and stay at Chip's too when Ralph had drank too much and had beat his wife and blackened her eyes. So, you know, everybody's got things that aren't perfect about them. And, you know, there's some people, I'm going to put a video up, they drove by here and they waved at me. The folks that have the hardware store, and they want to attack my character. These people have done all of this harassment at our home. All of this harassment at our home. And the judge today makes out in some way that it's my fault. And I said that we need him. Oh, he's a white supremacist. He attended church at Tom Robb's. This is a Missouri battle flag is a hate site. Out of control. What is America coming to? We just want to be left alone. And I think if Ron STEHLE is charged with anything criminal, well, he definitely needs to leave us alone.